Larry, Budd, Paul Dunphy, presenters, DJs, comedians, actors, producers.
I'm one of those things, but above all, I'm a dad. That's what people put on Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Father, actor, prime minister, in that order, or whatever.
Living your best life, making dad memories.
A list of jobs, but above all, dad.
Yeah.
Or above all, mum. Christian patriot.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be a challenge. I knew.
Always.
I like a challenge. Because you're not used to being on the other side of this, are you? You're not used to. I know you've been interviewed for a few very good podcasts, but how does it feel having the tables turned? Are you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah, we're not that interesting. That's why we've never been interviewed, or have been interviewed much. So, and you're going to see that now.
Okay.
No, it's always nice, actually. I think it makes us sensitive to the needs of the interviewer.
Right,
I was going to say it's nice for us because we get to list all of our incredible successes.
And
hear them outside for the first time and go, oh.
How different is your working week now? Paint a picture for us. What does your working week look like at the moment?
We started to do a live show on YouTube, and so we've continued with that. And actually, it's made us busier probably than we've ever been, but in a really good way. So it's forced us to schedule our weeks in terms of the comedy that we're writing for ourselves and putting out as part of our live show. We also do some private writing.
Private writing? Make it sound sordid. We do some private writing. So we have a live show. We do our sketches that we put out once a week. We do our private writing, which is we sort of write. We introduce comedy to really dry things. So like staff training, for example, we write sort of sketches around that.
So it's commercial jobs.
We've got our own sort of individual jobs, if you like. So I still freelance as a journalist and do some work for various people. And Paul still sort of, you do work for can we say for the podcast that you work for? Is that okay?
I do work for the government. I work in the civil service.
For the MI5 podcast, Spy Weekly.
No, I do voiceovers. At the start of lockdown, I made a concerted effort to get more voiceover work, so I do some of that. You may have heard me.
Voiceover booth.
Yeah, indeed. You may have heard me in an Audi advert recently, or in a Ladbrokes advert as well. Both of those voiced from my home studio in Leeds.
So Northern Imposters, under that umbrella, you're writing your own work as well as your commercial things together.
And hopefully working with other northern comedians and writers and bringing them to the fore.
And producing sketches, or I know you've written a sitcom, haven't you?
We wrote a pilot for a sitcom a while ago. Yeah, we need to revisit that at some point.
Yes,
we're in the process of hopefully finding funding for a short film. So yeah, we've got lots of projects on the go.
There's lots of stuff. What we really want to do with Northern Imposters is to find other people like ourselves. Which when we started writing and filming comedy, obviously we didn't really know what we were doing. But the only way to do it was we just started doing it and learnt as we went along. And we feel like we've got like tons and tons to learn, but we feel like we've learnt quite a bit about doing low budget sketch comedy because we've made everything with zero budget pretty much. Apart from equipment, obviously. So we just think there are loads of comedians and writers that are sort of hidden in the North that don't have the opportunity because they're spending most hours of a week earning a living, which is right. But, there's got to be people that we can help get some of their stuff out. Even if it's just like somebody wants to make one sketch and great, they've scratched that itch and they'll go back to doing whatever they're doing, that's fine. But we just want to work really collaboratively with northern comedians because it doesn't feel like there's much up here for them at the moment
yet. So we thought we'd get in.
Doing what you're doing, like making sketches, and I mean, how long is it since you've been doing the Larry and Paul sketches that you were doing? Like you were doing those every week to coincide with your radio show before, weren't you?
Yeah, they started off being trailers for our radio show and saying, coming up on today's show, it's a great chat and all that sort of stuff. And then eventually they became their own thing, and then we started to put more and more work into them, and we started fussing about. We stopped shooting them on iPhones and started shooting them on proper cameras, and then there was sound and then green screen, and they've sort of taken on a life of their own to the point where we're still doing sketches.
Lots of cameos from your friends and colleagues in the worlds of radio and comedy. And
yeah, we used to plunder the BBC office for people. So Harry Gratian,
Yeah.
local news presenter legend, or our colleagues, or we try to get, if there's any celebs we can get on board. So there's the newsreader Simon McCoy, featured very kindly in one of our sketches a while ago, doing a very serious news thing. So so we're still doing the sketches, and we hope to continue to expand into 3D and space-based comedy, which is the future.
What next? I wanted to ask you particularly about one sketch, which a lot of people watching this may well have seen. This is your COVID briefing sketch.
Yeah.
Yes.
It went viral. How many views are we on for that one? It's over millions of views for that one.
We think it's about 5 million. It's difficult to add up because it was stolen from us fairly early on and just placed on other people's Facebook pages.
That's what they do on the interwebs. They think, I want clicks, but I don't want to do any of the work.
Yeah.
We worked hard for that, and then a few people stole it, but we were quite good at shutting them down. But we think it's about 5 million, taking into account Facebook and YouTube, Facebooks rather, and YouTube and Twitter and everything. Yeah. So that was good. That was good for us, And that was
you got recognised. You got a mention from one of your comedy heroes.
Yes, Armando Iannucci retweeted and replied to me, which I was very excited about.
That was nice. And then we also had they used it on the coronavirus newscast on the BBC.
So we can say that we were seen on BBC One.
Yeah,
excellent. Excellent.
But that was because it was almost the second in a series. About a year before, we had done about 6 months before, we'd done an abstract radio. So if anybody hasn't seen the COVID briefing, the style of it was every COVID briefing ever. So things were sort of said in the abstract. So Paul turned up as a politician and said, emotionless greeting, and that's how we began the thing. And it was like part 2, wasn't it, of what we hope will be a series?
Yeah, the first one was every political argument ever, and it was every radio debate ever or something.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
We borrowed Amy Gledhill from the Delightful Sausage, who's an excellent northern comedian. They are both Delightful Sausage, brilliant pair. But yeah, she helped us with that, and that did quite well as well. That was us taking the mick out of Radio 4 political debates, which are all very structured. There's a host. There's usually a right-wing type that I played, and then Amy played a
left-wing type.
A left-wing type, a jumper-wearing
It's like the formula for all of these briefings.
Yes.
Like that was like the formula for the briefings. And
the BBC is so obsessed with balance that we thought it was absolutely ripe to take the mickey out of.
And the payoff was nobody learned anything, which is just the same in so many of those radio debates. People just shout at each other from their siloed positions. Nobody learns anything, and now travel.
Yes. Had it also on good authority from someone quite high up politically at the BBC who said that sketch was shown in Whitehall. It was shown to.
I can imagine.
I can't remember the.
The link is that Matt Hancock then came out about a week afterwards, because we'd made a joke about them having pre-agreed questions from members of the public.
Yeah.
And about a week afterwards, Matt Hancock came out and said, now it's time for questions from members of the public, and we don't see these beforehand. Okay. Anyway, I think we've got a question coming up about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but it's good to know that it was seen by actual politicians.
I think the Prime Minister saw it.
You're convinced?
I'm convinced.
You can think
why wouldn't he?
Nobody can tell you you're wrong if you think that. Then
yeah, well, he's got a sense of humour, hasn't he? Somebody will have shown him it.
Mm-hmm.
He has got a sense of humour. Will you be having guests in your new studio office?
Yeah, we hope so.
I mean, the world's our oyster, Clance. We don't really know. I mean, hopefully we will do.
Bring back Cake O'Clock. Bring back Cake O'Clock.
Yeah, on a Thursday night at 9:30.
Yeah.
We have booze on the show now. It's much more fun.
Yeah. I have contributed a booze review. Some little gin.
Yeah.
I just decided there's no point trying to kind of do the comedy with you guys involved. So mine was intentionally not funny.
Yeah, so we like to do that. So if we like to crush anyone's comedic spirit.
Yeah.
So that around us they feel like they can't make any jokes because we're taking up all the air.
Yeah.
So thanks for recognising that. Thank you for bowing to our superiority.
And your friend.
You're both very generous, funny people, and very generous to other comedians.
So who's that now? Is that?
It's very true. It's very true. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens next with the shows and the sketches there.
Yeah.
Hopefully. What were you about to say? My friend. You're attacking
No. I was about to say your friend Peg did us a booze review.
She did.
Where she drank red wine and Coke mixed up, and that
Disgusting.
caused some consternation.
She didn't like it. She I don't know what she was
I don't think
thinking.
that was supposed to be comedy.
No.
I'm afraid that I might have had something to do with that, because I was actually in the garden that Peg was in while she was filming that. She was at the bottom of the garden. We were round at her friend Alison's house, and I was drinking some gin in the garden, and Peg said, "I need to do a booze review. Do you want to do one with me?" And I said, "I've already done one with Little Gin." And Peg's not really a drinker, as she said, so she decided...
She's into a smack, isn't she, more?
Things in eyeballs, yeah, but not so much about the booze. So yeah,
track lines up her arms like nobody's business.
That's just how it should start.
Yeah,
and then finish.
Yeah, that's just on that.
Hello, Peg. She'll be delighted. She'll be delighted to get a meeting.
Yeah, we're going to do what James Corden does. Do you know what do they call a traffic crossing in America?
Crosswalk.
Crosswalk. Like they do like a crosswalk gig, don't they? So the lights go red. Have you seen this that they do on James Corden's show?
No.
The lights go red, and then suddenly James Corden and loads of his production crew and some celebrity, so I saw Harry Styles do one, just wheel out very quickly onto the crosswalk while the lights are on red. They know they've got about 35 seconds, and they'll start playing a song like a gig or something like that, and they'll have dancers around. And then just as the lights turn again, everybody just shifts off the crosswalk.
Oh, okay.
Crosswalk. We're going to do that on Kirkstall Road in Leeds.
Just down the road from me.
I think it's a good
I'll
idea.
be ready waiting to phone the emergency services.
Yes,
for you.
yeah. A TV show stunt ended in tragedy today. That'll be the opener.
A leg came off today on
I could just
Kirkstall Road in
see
Leeds.
the look on Paul's face as you were talking about that then, Larry. So,
Yeah.
The possibilities are just fizzing away. That's what I was thinking about. That's what I was imagining. I was like, can we do that? Possibly.
Could we do that?
We should make maximum use of our new location.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few times, but you have fun doing this. Ultimately, you enjoy making work together. Your mates outside of work as well. So this is the dream, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it is, and it's. I think mainly the pressure is Freudian.
Mainly the pressure.
Mainly the pressure is him. I mean, he's such a knob.
Mainly the pressure is the standards that we do put them on ourselves, which sounds like a really trite thing to say, but it is true that now that we know that we can do things to a certain standard, that we never let that go backwards, or we try to never let it go backwards. So if we're moving forward with that, we're always just trying to, can we shoot this on different equipment to make it better? Can we get someone to hold a boom arm for this one? We're constantly trying to move it forward, and that's where the pressure comes from. Yeah. It isn't really from the writing, which is enjoyable, the acting, which is enjoyable, the mucking around. The best bit is always the workshopping, they'd call it, wouldn't they? Yeah. It's just where you're sitting around and playing with an idea and seeing what jokes comes up. That's always the fun bit.
But we're saying about working with a friend, working with mates. It's good because we have developed a shorthand now, which means we know what we pretty much know what the other one thinks about stuff. But one thing I've noticed, which we wouldn't get away with if we weren't friends, if I'm editing a sketch, I'm noticing, for example, Larry's directing me off camera, and I'm incredibly rude to him. I'm just like, yeah, I know, yeah, right, next. I'm looking at back editing, going, God, if I didn't know, if Larry was like someone I was working with, he'd be like, I'm never working with that guy again. He's an absolute arse. So there's one good thing about working with a friend is that you can just be like that and it's fine.
I think there's an outtake of us filming the COVID briefing that I hadn't seen when we were filming.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't behind the camera. I had to get to a different position to hold the audio recorder.
Yeah.
And I only saw it afterwards in the edit. He is just looking at me like I just weed on his dinner.
Pissed on my kids at Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a shot where Larry's sort of like trying to position himself to record the sound or something, and I'm just giving him absolute
daggers,
pink eye. I'm just like,
I don't think that's what pink eye is.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, that's the other night.
But you developed that shorthand. But yeah, you're like family now, aren't you? So
yeah. We get on a diet of looks and size.
Wow.
Oh God.
I'd like to see some Larry and Paul outtakes. Actually, can you put a?
You can by subscribing at kofi.com/Larry and Paul. If you're a monthly subscriber on there, then you get outtakes and bonus material.
For as little as £3 a month, you can witness the outtakes and the hilarious bits of Larry and Paul's already hilarious sketches.
Okay, I didn't know that. Genuinely, that wasn't feeding you that line to get.
Well, that's wonderful.
Nicely done. Perhaps put the link up on the screen once you've edited it.
ko-fi.com/Larry and Paul.
I could do
Look,
that.
here it is here.
Yeah.
Well done for editing that in. That's so good. You edited that in, Clancy. Really good editing work. Really an interesting font you've chosen now. Wow, you made it do that 3D effect.
It's incredible.
That's incredible.
And it's the Iron Naked Lady.
Oh.
I'm very new to editing still. I shall do my best. However it's just appeared, it's appeared how I've been able to do it.
Yeah.
But you guys, how long have you known each other now? You're like, we'll kind of wrap up by talking about the beginning of Larry and Paul.
The beginning.
How did you know? Did this kind of, you became friends and then you were making each other laugh?
We met in 2007 in Radio Air. I was trying to be a radio presenter. And I got in through the street team. I auditioned to be a member of the street team. The people hand out, hey, here's £5 off at Wilco's. I was one of those idiots who stood in Briggett doing that sort of thing, driving a Hummer. It was amazing. And Larry worked in the newsroom, and we just, I don't know how we started talking, but we bonded over a mutual hatred of an article in a local paper. And that's how it started. Do you remember that differently?
No, that was it. Yeah, it was an article. We were both laughing about how sycophantic this article was. It was sort of a celebrity article, but it was obviously someone who couldn't bring themselves to say anything negative about anybody ever. So we used to laugh about that, and we got chatting, and we went and sat in a room. In fact, we then went and sat at one point, I remember, in the Adelphi pub in Leeds, and got drunk and just threw some ideas around about what we might do together. And we started doing a film podcast. We did that for about 2 years. That was a big undertaking.
That was like 2008 to 2010, wasn't it?
Yeah. When podcasts were like all the rage the first time round.
Well,
yeah, they weren't the rage then.
Yeah, well, we were exactly. We thought we've got this podcast that we spent so much time on. It's called the Big Screen Podcast, and it was us watching films and reviewing films. That's when we started little radio sketches in them. Or audio sketches, I should say. The minute we were given our first show together in January 2010, Radio Leeds, we were like, ditch the podcast.
That was on Radio Air, wasn't it?
Yeah, no one's listening to this. We got our first. The future's in FM radio, isn't it? FM local radio. That's where the future is. So we ditched the podcast and stuck with that. So that's how we sort of, unlike most radio duos, we were friends before most radio duos are put together. Whereas we were friends first, which was nice.
And then we went from Radio Air and we went over to the BBC. What was that?
I think that's a motorcycle passing Clancy. Either that or she let rip a massive.
It was great.
A foghorn or something.
It sounded like Optimus Prime.
That was the
It did.
Poptimus Prime.
Optimus Prime.
So peaceful here in my little corner of Armley. Yeah.
So we went over to Radio Leeds, and it's sort of been a long. It almost feels like we were always going to end up doing what we're doing, but it just took us a long time to get there. But in some ways, it was right that it took us that length of time to get there. If we would have just met and gone, you like comedy, I like comedy, let's make comedy, it might have been a lot harder. We were much younger as well, and I do think life experience is an important thing in the sort of comedy that we're doing.
Yeah.
So.
And I think being at the BBC did give you kind of access to things in maybe not in that kind of having a mentor, but like you say, being able to work with, have various well-known cast members in your videos and things.
It gave us a veneer of legitimacy, is what the BBC gave us, which was nice to have for a while. A veneer of legitimacy.
And a BBC email address.
And yes, the BBC email address.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how excited I was the first day I got that, when I emailed myself from myself. I was like, oh.
And your mum. Hello,
well,
Mum.
if only she used,
If only she knew what email was.
She's no email. But yeah.
But yeah, and there's so many talented people at the. We work with some brilliant people who helped us out along the way. So and because the pool of talent that they have at the BBC is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, great. There you go. You've done your rehearsal for now. In hopefully not too long. In the future, when you're on Graham Norton, how did you meet? You've rehearsed that little. Yeah.
We need to bring it down a bit shorter, don't we? It was a bit clunky.
Yeah, maybe make it less bitter. I think that might help.
We just say we locked eyes across a bar.
Yeah,
that's probably true. Larry, Paul, thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Clancy.